Hey, if you've been spending too much time trying to get your swing right on plane, or maybe that word, that phrase, on plane, is just really scary and feels like it's way too advanced for you, then keep watching, because right after this, I'm going to show you a drill that will put your swing right on plane, and it'll be the easiest thing you've ever done. Swinging on plane isn't just for the pros on TV. Stay tuned. Hey, this is Steve with HitItLonger.com. So let's learn to get our swings on plane. What is a good functional swing plane? It's kind of hard to define, but the good thing is that for most of you out there, we have quite a bit of wiggle room. So nothing about this has to be perfect for you to hit the ball nice and straight every time. A really good image to jump off with would be the Hogan pane of glass. So if you bend into your posture, a plane of glass that's running from the ball kind of through your shoulders and out into space upwards this way. And he wanted us to swing either on that or below it. That was kind of the upper end of the spectrum that he wanted us to swing on. And I'll show you a couple of examples here. If you're filming yourself, you want your swing halfway down to be somewhere between the shaft cutting through the shoulder and the shaft cutting through the right forearm like this. So anywhere in here, halfway down to here, as long as it matches on the other side. So if you're like more vertical or steeper plane like a Scotty Scheffler, you're going to come out at the same angle on the halfway through. If you're more like, let's say, a Lee Trevino or a Ben Hogan, and you look like right on the forearm here, you'd want to come around and exit lower. That way the circle matches. You can see, if you just imagine a hula hoop, a more upright swing like a Scotty Scheffler, the hula hoop would just be tipped a little less on its side. A flatter swing, like a Ben Hogan, would be tipped a little bit more over on its side. Now, for the better players out there, you can go with one more checkpoint, and that would be that the club is parallel to your intended line of flight when it reaches horizontal to the ground, coming down, something close to this. And then, when it comes into the ball, the shaft is approximately the same height at impact as it started at address. Now, it's going to be a little bit higher, hopefully, because you've got some outwards pulling force trying to straighten your wrist, but you really want it within a few degrees, and you'd really like to keep that thing from here to here, and then pointing up the line parallel to your intended line of flight again as you get into the follow through. All right, so as promised, let's look at a really easy drill that you can do that will help you feel what a good swing plane feels like. Now, I think what complicates the idea of swing plane in people's heads is that the bend forward causes the swing plane to go down and touch the ground. So it's at a tilted angle, like you took a wagon wheel and you popped it off the wagon and you're leaning it against the wagon. If we were to just take out all of the bend and just stand straight up and down, so let's say start from your normal stance and just stand straight up and down, look where the club would be. Okay, let's try that again from this angle. And just stand straight up. Okay, so the club ends up, this is an 8 iron, so the club ends up pretty close to level with my navel. Let's try that again. Here's my normal setup, and I just stood straight up. Okay, club is parallel to the ground, and it's just above the belt buckle, right about navel level. So now that we've taken the bend out of the swing, like this, now we can almost draw a horizontal line, like in a circle, like a big hula hoop around us on the horizontal, so parallel to the ground. Now it becomes very simple to just simply keep the club moving around the equator at the same level as my belly button, with the club shaft always keeping parallel to the ground. That would look like this. And you're swinging it on plane. The other thing I really like about this exercise is, when you lift it up and just simplify everything, is how you can look at the wrist action, the correct wrist action, that will keep the club face square to the arc. It would look like this. Now notice I've got the toe of the club up all the way through the hitting area. See that? And I'm throwing it through the hitting area, picking up speed, and I'm not rolling the toe from open to closed, but instead I'm keeping it right square to the equator line going around me. So this is the hand action you'll need to keep the ball going as straight as possible. Then you're going to have to just tip this circle back down to the ground again. So you might just want to do a couple more. You can just do half swings at first. And now you're going to try to make it feel the same. And we get a pretty straight shot right on line with the flag. That was about, I've got it at 165 yards in the air with an 8-iron. So good distance, right on line, because I am swinging first on the simplified plane, flapping my wrists to add the power as I turn my chest. Longer would look more like this, staying on the equator line, almost like you're circumnavigating the earth around the equator. Then, once you have the feel of that, just bow again to the ground, and now feel the same feeling you just had, including the snap of the wrists, and you will be reasonably on the plane. Now, another thing I really like about this exercise is it can reveal exactly when you're not on the plane, and you can find your pattern. So, for example, if you're an over-the-top swinger, what you're probably doing is you're probably dipping below the equator line a little on the backswing, lifting the club well above the equator this way, and then you're going to cross the equator from high to low. So this would be your over-the-top outside-in swing. Another common one is the guy who's a better golfer, but he swings excessively in to out. It's just kind of like a tennis shot. You swing from below the equator to above the equator, and you roll the toe over more to make up for it, and it kind of wants to go that way anyway. So you're seeing the toe of the club work its way over. You're adding a bit more closure to it. You've got to rely on curve to get you back to the flag. All right, let's look at it one more time from this angle. So if I just stood straight up, don't move my arms at all, practice swinging on the equator right around my navel. Yeah, it seems flat right now, but this is because you haven't had the steepness of the bow. So if we put that back again here, okay, and now you're going to have the correct angle coming back, coming through, and all the way back around into the follow through as well. Now, because you've kept your wrist angle level to the ground, you're also feeling, for the better golfers, you're also feeling in this exercise how the shaft will get itself on plane through the impact zone also. Because For you to screw that up and let's say get the shaft too tall coming in, let's say you stand up and you get tall, well then your wrist has to turn down. So in that case, you would be dipping the club head below the equator, almost like you're skimming across the water and you dip the club head down underwater like that. So you might go back on this plane, good, but then you dip the club underwater, and that would be the equivalent to having it too tall at impact, and your body wouldn't fit, your body would have to stand up, or vice versa. All right, so try out my drill. You can very easily see how to get your swing on plane, learn the correct wrist action that will keep the club face tracking square to the arc through the impact zone, keep the shaft at the right height coming into the impact zone, and you're going to turn into a really straight hitter. Hey, thanks so much for watching and supporting my channel. I really appreciate you. I'm Steve, and as usual, I will either see you in the next video or I'll see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.